One morning, I found my horses decapitated, and the smell was what woke me up. Each one of them was lying on their side inside their stable. There was no sign of their heads. I spent the rest of the day cleaning up the mess and burying the remains. That's when I noticed that the bundles of straw were scattered in the distance. This time I left them where I found them, resigned without giving it much importance. I sat on the porch with my shotgun in hand and a cup of coffee on the table. I sat for hours, fixing my eyes on the field to try to find the guy or guys who were moving my bundles of straw. Fatigue overcame me and I almost fell asleep completely. If it weren't for the fact that at the moment my eyes began to close, I heard the trees in the nearby forest shake and shudder. I stood up with my heart pounding. I walked with my shotgun to the front of my cabin to wait anxiously for anyone who came close enough to try to surprise me. That was when something came close enough for me to be able to distinguish its silhouette in the darkness. That thing that could be heard in the forest near my farm, it seemed not to notice that. I was there. It seemed to lurk hunched over easily, about 4 meters tall. It would seem fragile, its thin arms and legs, and its chest reminded me of an animal dying of hunger. However, this thing was incredibly strong because I saw how it carried a bundle of straw under each of his arms with ease, and he arranged it very carefully away from my farm. I watched him work, always moving each one with the same detail, hunched over to look for more bundles in the field. I noticed that he was looking towards my house towards me. I felt his eyes in the dark. That thing turned stealthily and returned the way it had come, entering the darkness of the forest. It took me a long time to recover the courage to barely move a muscle again between my house as soon as I could. But I didn't sleep that night, and it was only until the sun came up that I dared to put my foot outside a porch. The bundles of straw were where that thing had left them. However, I noticed that this time it had not moved them so far. They seemed to mark some kind of line, and as I walked around the house, I saw that they formed a distinctive circle around me. I realized that the lumps were forming a kind of border, as if this thing was sending the message sleep a little that night, just because I was extremely exhausted the next morning, get sick. Maybe that thing would have left so much evil energy or violent. An intelligent threat. I knew it would scare me. I knew I would understand the implications. One morning I was planning to give up and a car was just approaching. I didn't have the opportunity to ask for help. The car moved slowly down the road. I signaled to it. I only accelerated, but that was when it passed between two of the packages of straw that were placed each on one side of the road. While noisy in the forest, the thing suddenly came out of the trees, running on all fours towards the car. It launched itself at the car like a feline predator. In seconds, it was hitting the metal body from the car as if it were a simple fruit, trying to get to that man. I could only hear the crunch of metal and the glass breaking. That thing crushed him in his hand. Until then, he stopped screaming. He threw him into the forest. He looked at me again in full sunlight. I could see the lack of humanity. That thing was composed of something terrible, disgusting. The creature returned to the woods. I barely managed to move. I had witnessed. I could not take my eyes off the place where my hopes of escape had died. I looked towards the car with the machine still running. It was clear now I was the prisoner, this thing. Nothing could cross the borders that had been placed on me. I was trapped by that thing that lurked in the trees and made me stay there as if it were a whim, as if I were that creature's pet. And I'm still here. I've thought a lot the last few days since I saw how he crushed that man. If I cross the border of the straw bundles, he will probably do the same to me, crushing my skull before I can cross, knowing that he is waiting and watching with those big bright eyes. If I don't finish telling this story, won't say I didn't survive.